60 seconds. John Henning.
Okay, so the motion is really simply to ask for the enforcement of the existing laws. We're not trying to get any new laws passed. The existing laws are all fully enforced, and the only exception is that one thing that goes along with the Jones injunction, which is that they're not being enforced during the night against sleeping in the street. Everything else is still enforceable, and we're simply asking the city to continue to enforce the laws as they're written and not to editorialize and change the laws based on perceived threats of litigation and other things.
Let me ask one question while you go. Our parliamentarian suggested to us that the certain clauses, basically the and which clause, in each bullet point on here in the whereas section. So we have, whereas you have LAMC 62.61, it's quotes from the code, and then there's a paragraph, phrase that says and which thereby prohibits. Each statute mentioned has one of these and which clauses. Our parliamentarian has said to us that those are improperly written and which clauses because they state an opinion. I can't really opine on this. I don't have the experience the parliamentarian has on how you write the second half of these whereas
Does your
clauses.
parliamentarian have any legal authority?
No, he doesn't. But I'm just trying to.
Is an editor of any kind?
The reason why I'm telling you this is because I just want you to be aware. You are the motion maker, so I think if I'm told that someone perceives a flaw in your motion, you're entitled to at least know what that is. I'm not sure that I see it, but we have been told by the parliamentarian that he thinks that these and which clauses are inappropriate for the motion.
Well, I think
Can we settle that? If it passes here, then we can discuss that with Ivan between now and the time it comes up.
I think that would be fine. I've actually not had this situation before where I've had to sort out this kind of change in something, so you may want to. I just want you to be aware of this. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that all the and which clauses are saying is they're essentially declaring the motion maker's position as to what these various ordinances mean, and similarly the NC can adopt that interpretation as well. So
okay.
I don't see why there's a parliamentary objection.
Let us now, okay, thank you. We have a little bit of time for committee discussion. I mean, we've heard a lot, and everyone's kind of vetted out both sides. Is there any questions that anyone on the committee has? Or
my only opinion is that since these laws are being enforced, why are we voting?
Can you speak up?
Right. What Nick said is, if these laws are already being enforced, why are we voting on something that is already in existence? I actually agree with Nick on this, and I'm wondering to the motion makers, why not direct this to the city attorney? I mean, I think that the police are in a tough position because they have their marching orders. They don't have a lot of discretion in how they enforce some things, right? I mean, I'm just wondering.
This is directed to the city attorney. Whether or not the city attorney is addressed, the motion is directed to everybody, to the city council, to the city LAPD, and to the city attorney. We're asking the LAPD to enforce because the city attorney, with all due respect, is notoriously evasive about being told to do anything or asked to do anything by way of interpreting ordinances by the public. Their view is that the ordinances are a matter of interpretation between them and their bodies, and they're not going to respond to any request we make to interpret an ordinance in a certain way. The answer to that would be we have no comment.
Would you be, wait, no, I'm sorry, we just can't get.
I know you can't, but I just want to make sure everybody is very clear on something. The city attorney's office supports all of our enforcement. We get full support from the city council, and I feel we have full support of the Venice Neighborhood Council as well. I don't want anybody to think that our hands are tied. Our hands are not tied. We're not tied by anybody. Everybody's asking us to go out and do something, and that's why we work with outreach. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Would you, if we were to amend the motion to say the neighborhood council asks the city attorney to direct LAPD to enforce all of
Their
these
answer to
laws?
that will be, we don't direct LAPD to do anything. I have literally heard those words from a high-level deputy city attorney.
Okay.
We don't tell
Okay.
LAPD what to do. Now, I know that we're hearing something different. That's my point.
Okay.
They will not direct, we have asked them to direct LAPD to do any number of things in Venice, and the answer always is the same. We do not direct LAPD to do anything. It's a fine distinction. They tell LAPD what they think the law is, but they have no force to direct LAPD to do anything.
And the officer's agreeing with that.
That's absolutely correct.
This has nothing to do with the VNC, it's directed at the city attorney, this motion. Yeah, you just said it's directed at the city attorney.
I'm sorry, thank you. Robin?
One of the speakers mentioned that some of these people are referred to services, but they really hate them. They don't want to use them. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and why that is? Because part of this motion is to, provide referrals and all that, and I want to understand if that's even reasonable or.
Sure, I'll try to keep it quick. Just the feedback that we normally get is that for the sanitation issues, the safety issues, there's no security. Sometimes you're limited to just a meager amount of possessions, so you may have to give up, whatever you own and carry a small bag, and so you kind of subscribe yourself to a meager amount of possessions at all. They get you to bed late, so they may get you to bed at like midnight and get you up at 6 a.m. so you don't get a full night's sleep. I mean, it's silly, but there's a lot of things that just there's no dignity. It's not a real help. I can go talk to anybody on 3rd or on the boardwalk and say, well, you want to go to a shelter, it's cold outside, and they're like, no way, I'd rather be here on the street because of the sanitation, because of the safety issues. And I'll talk to you later on about that if you'd like to.
They'll strand you in South Central too.
Okay.
They're giving you a ride back. They'll take you there and leave you.
I'm going to make a proposal.
Okay.
We have to vote on, but it's not. Please.